before we start, this is not alcohol, this is actually a bottle of water. I was in Forbidden Planet a while ago, and when I was in there, I always had this joke that I never thought that Forbidden Planet existed because I used to hear about it for years but never could find the place. And then one day I stumbled upon it by accident. Now I'm always in there, you can't get rid of me. Anyways, I went inside Forbidden Planet not long ago, and this spurred on the topic of the video I'm about to do now. Now I go inside there and there's a big section WWE. There's WWE figures, WWE merchandise, WWE posters, whole great big section. Right next to it, UFC, Barcelona action figures, which is just unreal. UFC, Don Fry, UFC, Frank Mir, Brock Lesnar, George St. Pierre, all this huge merchandise. It was a great big stand next to the WWE one. And then right at the very, very bottom, on the floor, scattered on the floor, with maybe one shelf, TNA Wrestling. It's very interesting because in 2005, Spike TV were looking for new programming for their channel. They wanted to go into a direction where they were the men's channel, the channel of action, similar to what Bravo was over here for us. They wanted to go in that kind of direction, and they were looking for new programming. And in that year, they signed two new brands of television to their network: UFC and TNA Wrestling. From what I understand, at that time the UFC had been struggling financially for a while. The Fertittas and Dana White were even contemplating selling the brand to someone, and they wrote one last check out, an expensive check, and had to pay Spike TV to be on their channel. And basically, The Ultimate Fighter was a test run. If this show wasn't successful, they may have been out of business. That same year, TNA Wrestling, who had had every excuse in the book, if only we had a TV deal, if only we had a TV deal, got the TV deal that they wanted. They got their deal with Spike TV, and I don't believe they paid as much as the UFC did, and I even believe they were given quite a bit of money to bring people in from the network. And from what I understand, it's the money that they are given by Spike TV that's keeping them going right now. Anyways, while I pick my nose. It's very interesting that both brands were on the same network at the same time, and when you look at how one grew and got bigger and bigger, and how the other one has stayed the same, hasn't gotten any bigger, in fact has gotten smaller, and it's basically looked at as a laughing stock. It's funny, isn't it, when you think about it? Both signed at the same time, slightly different deals, but one grew and one is now laughed at by the public. And you ask yourself, how can that be? Well, how can that be? Now, I want to go back and look at the UFC and the Ultimate Fighter. That show was so compelling. For 1 hour every week, you got to see 12 to 15 mixed martial artists. You got to get to know who they were, so you got to know their stories. You got to see them train for 8 weeks. You got to see this. You got to educate yourself as to what MMA is and what the UFC is. You had the compelling stories of the two camps. You had the compelling rivalries between the guys within the camps, like Lieben and Koscheck. You had the character that was Dana White. And then it all built up to that finale. And that finale led to that great fight between Stefan Bonner and Forrest Griffin, where the number kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger as the fight was progressing, because it was just one of those kind of fights. It was like a Clint Eastwood movie scene, just bang, 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 bang. Anyways, the momentum grew, and Dana White has his finger on the pulse as to what's going on, and he capitalized on it. He's got great instincts. I look at TNA Wrestling that year. TNA had a phenomenal year. They were acquiring talent. Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, who was already there anyways. Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, Shocker. All these guys that were just coming in. and it had this real underground feel to it, which was quite cool at the time. And everyone was like, man, TNA are just one move away from just becoming a huge monster in wrestling. And then they signed Kurt Angle that next year, and everything was in place for them to get even bigger. When you think about it, the WWE product was that stale. People were frustrated with WWE, and now they'd signed Kurt Angle. Everyone thought this is going to be great. It didn't work out. TNA hasn't grown. TNA hasn't become what they should have been. TNA could have been the cutting edge professional wrestling brand, the cool cutting edge professional wrestling brand. People should be talking about, wow, did you see that TNA show, and did you see this, and did you see that? That hasn't happened. And I wonder what are the factors behind that. And I know we've talked about, yep, all the old people in the company and all these old wrestlers, and that might be a factor, and that might not be a factor. I think it is a factor anyways. I look at one thing within TNA wrestling and one thing within UFC. TNA wrestling does not have someone who is on the cusp of what's going on in society, who understands what's cutting edge, who has their finger on the pulse, who understands their audience and what their audience wants and what their audience likes to see, and responds to those things and knows how to create those needs within the consumer. They don't have anyone like that. And let's look at this. Eric Bischoff is an idiot. He's proven that time and time again. He clearly hasn't learned from any of his past mistakes. The man is actually intelligent, but he's also an idiot too. Look at some of his Facebook rants. There's no correlation. I'm not even going to go off on the things that he said. He's just a friggin' moron. Vince Russo, I mean, come on, have you guys not learnt your lesson? He is not the guy to bring the company out. It's clear he's not learnt a damn thing from the last 10 years because he's doing the same things over and over and over and over and over and over again. Hulk Hogan is not going to save your company. Hogan is a laughing stock and a joke. I mean, let's not get me started on that. And Dixie Carter has hair. Dixie Carter was the equivalent of a deer looking in the headlights. And I'm sorry, but everything she says is a lip service and is a facade. Oh, we really listen to our audience and da 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 da. I don't see any of that in her. I think it's just a facade, and I think it's a pile of crap. I then look at Dana White, and I look at the people who run the UFC, and there's a huge contrast with those guys to the guys in TNA. The UFC, Dana White, has great instincts. For his faults, he has great instincts. He has his finger on the pulse on society. He's on the cutting edge of society. He knows what his audience wants. He knows how to respond to his audience. He knows how to create that need in his audience. And because of that, the UFC is blown up to what it has gotten, what it's become, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger. They just brought out Strikeforce, and I did a video on that not too long ago. Yet there's no one in TNA that can do that. They had their chance. They had their chance last year when Paul Heyman was doing a lot of media appearances, and he was talking about TNA contacting him and making a serious play for him to come into the company. And if you listen to that interview with Ariel Helwani, he makes very, very interesting points. And to me, it tells me that TNA are scared to have him in there because he will come in there and he will tell them, much like Dana White has told people, this is bullshit, this is crap, I want this all changed up. They don't want someone like that in their company, which is why they will never grow. I mean, look at how the audience, look at how I am when I watch a UFC show, and I've talked about it on here, and how you are, the MMA fans, when you've watched a Strikeforce show or a UFC show or a Dream show or a Bellator show. We're buzzing. We're always satisfied. We feel like we got our time's worth and our money's worth before the show's even started. Now let's compare that to a TNA show. They had a main event that lasted 1 minute and 45 fucking seconds. Do you really think that people want to see that? And I just want to get on to the point of that. When you look at the Ultimate Fighter and the success it had, you can see its effect that it had on the UFC. Because look at how the ratings grew. Look at how the buy rates and the pay-per-view numbers started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Look at how the television ratings are getting bigger and bigger. They're doing buy rates from upwards of 400,000 buys. TNA are doing 5,000 buys. That's the biggest number they've done this year. That is downright embarrassing. So people out there, what do you think? MMA fans out there, what do you think? I've described TNA Wrestling to you, and I've described the UFC success to you. I want to know what people think about this. Is it just me, but people love the UFC and the UFC is cool? TNA is a damaged brand. I can tell you a conversation I had with people, and these people are not smart wrestling fans. They're not smart MMA fans, but they make this very interesting comment. I went out and I was having a conversation with these people, and the topic of TNA came up, and they laughed. They laughed and thought that show was a joke. That should tell you something right there. When the UFC came up, they were buzzed. Oh my god, that stuff is so cool. Oh my god, the UFC. And they were going on and on. They had so much to say and ask me about that. But when it came to TNA, they just laughed. And I don't blame them. The UFC has an image, the UFC has a perception of being cool. And I think that's why they're just going to get bigger and bigger. And why TNA is just going to get smaller and smaller and smaller until someone pulls the plug. Anyways, guys, this is just me kind of ranting. Let me know what you think. Comments from MMA fans or wrestling fans. The whole purpose is to get the two of you talking to each other at some point. And I will be back very soon. I've got another video, another crossover video, as I like to call them. So I'll probably be talking about MMA fighters that could have been pro wrestlers that could have been MMA fighters. So if you've got any suggestions, feel free to put something on my wall or inbox me and let us know what you think. Anyways, guys, take care. Have a good one. Love to hear what you've got to say. And yeah, I look forward to it. So see you soon.